This is the Your Career Story podcast, and you're listening to episode 67, 5 Things You Can Negotiate Besides Salary. Welcome to Your Career Story podcast, a show that's designed for rockstar professionals looking for that extra booster shot of confidence in their careers. Whether you're trying to get clarity on a job transition, want some work-life balance inspiration, or need a strategy to snag that promotion or raise, this podcast is for you. I'm your host, Jenna Viviano, ex-Wall Streeter turned startup junkie who now coaches hundreds of clients, empowering them to take back control of the job search and land their dream job. So sit back, grab a glass of wine, and prepare yourself for your weekly boost of career confidence. Hello, friends, and welcome back to another episode of the Your Career Story podcast. I'm your host, Jenna Viviano, and I am so pumped to be with you here today. Today, we're going to be talking about negotiating, and we're going to be talking about things that you can negotiate besides salary. This episode was actually a little bit of an inspiration from a LinkedIn post that kind of went viral, where I said, hey, these are the things that you think you can negotiate. Most people just think salary, and here's a whole long list of other things you can negotiate besides just your salary. So we're going to go over kind of the top 5 different things you can negotiate besides salary in this episode today. But I just want to give you a quick reminder that Recruit the Employer, the course, the doors are still open for this, but they're only going to be open until June 30th. So midnight after June 30th, going into July 1st, it's going to close, and we're not going to open up this program, the step-by-step program, until the fall. So if you have been thinking about it, if you came to our masterclass, I love that you were there. We are so grateful that you were there. And if you've been thinking about, I think I want to get this Recruit the Employer, you only have until June 30th. So I want to see you in the program. I want to see your career transformed, and I want to see you land an awesome job and negotiate thousands more. If you like this episode today, you're going to love the course, because in the course, we actually tell you exactly step by step how to verbalize and negotiate your salary so you're not confused, or negotiate the 5 things that we're talking about so you're not confused on that. So we're really excited about it. We've already got a ton of people that have been in the program already. We've gotten some amazing traction with some clients. So just for a reminder, this course is for you if you have been job searching for a while and you haven't gotten much traction. It's for you specifically if you're a mid to senior level female professional looking to make a strategic career move in the next 3 to 6 months. So my male friends that are listening to this right now, you totally can purchase, but it is tailored more to my female listeners, to my female readers, and for my female professionals who struggle with a couple of different things that men maybe don't struggle with or struggle with differently. So we talk about some female specific things about how women can get their minds right in the job search process and how to process through just some of the things that we deal with, from our self-esteem all the way through confidence. I realize that women deal with things differently than men. So my male friends, you can totally purchase, but my ladies, this is really designed for you. This course is for you if you're laid off and you want to expedite and organize your job search. So I know it can feel really overwhelming when you're like, what do I do with my days if I've been laid off or I'm in between jobs? This course will help give you structure for that as well. If you are looking to feel more confident in your career, if you want to know how to sell yourself effectively, if you want to know how to take your transferable skills and connect the dots for an employer, this is going to help you. This course is also for you if you're over trying to do this by yourself and you're like, I want some friends, I want to be in that LinkedIn group, I want some feedback from Jenna, from me, and you're realizing that just you can't do it on your own, which, hey, there is no shame in that. No one taught you how to find and land a job, which is a totally different conversation for a different day. So if you're over trying to do this by yourself and you realize like it's time for you to call in some help and get a step-by-step system that is foolproof, Recruit the Employer, the course is really for you. And then finally, how to know if this course really is for you as well, is if you believe in investing in yourself, in personal development, and calling in experts when you need a simplified path, Recruit the Employer, the course is for you. I did get a question the other day on LinkedIn. So if this is you and you have this question, like, what industries is this for? So basically, my short answer to that is pretty much every industry that is not if you're a doctor, if you're a lawyer, or like you're a creative, meaning you're a musician or you're an artist. If you're in any of those kind of buckets, this course is probably not for you. But quite frankly, I've worked with people in all different industries, wide range of industries, from government to business function to finance to tech to sales. I mean, across the board, truly nonprofits. I mean, pretty much across the board, as long as you're in some sort of like quote unquote business function, even if it is nonprofit, this is for you. If you're a doctor or a lawyer, it's a little bit different of a process. Or if you're trying to become like a politician or a senator, probably not for you. But if you're in any other type of realm or any type of regular corporate type of job or nonprofit type job, this course will 100% help you and give you the tools that you need. So I did get that question. So I just wanted to make sure that I clarified that today. Now, friends, now that we've covered that, if you're interested in Recruit the Employer, the course, you can go to jennaviviano.com/yes to gain access now. Again, it's only open until June 30th. We're closing the doors July 1st, and we're not opening up again until the fall. So I want to see you in that course. All right, let's hop into why you came this week and why you showed up and why you're listening to this episode. So today's episode we're talking about negotiation, and we're specifically talking about other things that you can negotiate besides your salary. And so one, I know a lot of women really struggle with negotiating as it is, right? So we're like, negotiation is kind of a newer topic. We don't really know how to do it. And then once we do figure out how to do it, what exactly do we negotiate? What are the things that we can negotiate besides just our salary? Because the reality is your salary doesn't have to be the only thing that you kind of mess with a little bit or tweak in your offer package. So when you get an offer, there's a lot of different components to what you can negotiate or what you want to negotiate. Part of that comes with understanding what's important for you in your career. What do you value? What are the things that are of top priority for you? And then getting really clear on those is going to help you understand what to negotiate a lot easier down the line. So in Recruit the Employer, we actually walk through this of like, what are your top important things? That can be something that you reference once you finally get to that last stage. You have an offer in hand. What can you actually negotiate? So we're not going to walk through a script of how to negotiate. I'm just going to walk you through 5 different things you can negotiate besides the salary. So the number one thing that I personally love, and when I actually posted this on LinkedIn, I got a lot of people that provided feedback that they negotiated this in their package up front, is professional development. So this can include anything from access to industry conferences. So I see this a lot with my salespeople. They'll say, hey, I want to get access to this conference, or quite frankly, anybody who has a desire to learn more. Professional development, usually companies nowadays more and more are starting to create, allocate part of their budget per employee, a certain dollar amount to put towards professional development, which is amazing. I love that. Now, you can use that for a variety of different things. And sometimes people negotiate the budget that they're given. Sometimes people negotiate certain conferences, like I mentioned, or classes or tuition reimbursement. Maybe it's specific type of courses, or it could be coaching. I actually worked with a couple of clients who their organization actually provided a professional development budget for the year. And they chose to work with me to help them with like, how do I deal with office politics? How do I make sure that I am positioning myself well in this next career move? So those are all things that you can negotiate, whether it's the actual function, like a specific conference, or the budget that you use. Another thing that I see people use it for is maybe certain certifications. So if you are, let's say for your profession, you have to have certifications, sometimes included in packages. Companies will actually package that up and say, hey, we'll include your XYZ certifications, we'll include your continued education, and we'll pay for that as well. You don't have to update those licenses. You don't have to update those certifications. Other things that I see people negotiate in their salary, besides their salary in their package, is professional organization. So let's say that there's a certain networking organization you want to be a part of. And actually in the fall sneak peek, we're probably going to be launching a professional development group and training for women. And so this could fall under, that type of program could fall under this professional development budget. Now, if your company doesn't have a professional development budget, one, that should be something that you maybe want to check out if that's what's important to you, and ask some questions perhaps in the interview process about that. But then once you do get that package, ask if there's some leveraging there, if they won't negotiate salary, because sometimes companies, they just have certain bands and they can't go above certain restrictions around their salary. Sometimes there truly is not leverage there. And that's when you know it's really time probably to leverage these other things that could benefit you in the long haul, help you in your career, but it maybe doesn't necessarily have the HR team have to go through a bunch of red tape, which is not really what you want. You want it to be fast and easy for them. So this is professional development is one way you can add that into the package, or you can negotiate how much is available. So that is the first thing that you can negotiate besides your salary. The second thing that I often recommend for people to negotiate besides salary, which again, salary is always my number one. Like if you can negotiate, always try and negotiate your salary. We talk about this in Recruit the Employer about the compounding efforts of if you do negotiate that first time, what that means for your career over the lifetime. Just when you're thinking about yearly raises and just even when you're leveraging from company to company and you're jumping around, it's definitely going to help you. So I always try to negotiate salary first, but if you can't, these are other options as well. Number 2 is relocation or signing bonus. So if you're having to move out of state and the company is willing, you want to, as much as you can, get them to relocate you because it's very expensive to move your whole life across the country. I just had a friend of mine recently where their company paid for their relocation. It was probably upwards of 10 grand. That's very valuable. That's a great quote unquote signing bonus, if you will, to help you relocate. I know for myself, when I graduated from college, I actually got a relocation bonus and then I got a signing bonus. So my relocation, actually, maybe now that I'm thinking about it, maybe I only got one, but don't hold me to that. Regardless, it was used and intended to help me move from where I currently was into the city. And so a lot of people, I really recommend see if there are ways, if it's typical in your industry. I would do some research beforehand, but see if it's typical in your industries that people do get signing bonuses. If they do, I would really think about a general number. I see anywhere from about 10K all the way up to, 50K. Some people get even more than that, but it's usually around 10 to 50 depending on what industry you're in, what level you're in. So just remember, this is one thing that I do want to remind people of. Usually when you're getting a signing bonus, if you leave within a year, you usually have to pay that back. So this actually happened to me. I remember this so vividly. When I was transitioning out of investment banking, I wasn't there a full year. And in order for me to leave, this is how much I wanted to get out, y'all. I don't think I talk about this enough. This is how much I needed to get out emotionally, physically, mentally, the whole thing. I actually lost money in that transition because I had to pay back the investment banking company that I was a part of the signing bonus because I didn't stay a full year. Thankfully, I did get a signing bonus from the New York Stock Exchange, but because of taxes, which is a newsflash, you get taxed on signing bonus. It makes sense, but it stinks. Because of taxes, I actually lost a little bit of money in that transition. But I would always just be aware of that when you sign up, just make sure you understand in your contract. And I'm not a lawyer, so I would recommend reaching out to an employment lawyer or somebody that you trust to help you work through your package. And that's my disclaimer for this whole entire episode. But when you're getting a signing bonus, I would just see what's the fine tooth, how long do you have to stay for until you have to give it back? That's the first. Some companies, it's 2 years. And then also remember that you're going to get taxed on it. So you're not going to actually get that full amount. So when you're negotiating, also keep that in mind. Let me guess. If you're listening to this podcast, you're probably not looking for any job. You're looking for the right job. And the right job is not at your current company. You're tired of feeling underpaid, overworked, and like your career is in the hands of the employer. You're ready to make some moves, but you're overwhelmed by all of the options. You don't know how to sell yourself, and you have a nagging feeling that your lack of confidence is keeping you from success, not to mention negotiating the amount you're worth. If this sounds like you and you're a mid to senior level career woman who makes over $100,000, we have a 4-step solution just for you. Our signature program, Recruit the Employer, is designed to help women leaders get clarity on what they want to do, market to their dream jobs, and negotiate thousands more. Using a personal branded approach, we equip you with the tools to sell yourself in a non-sleazy way, think like a C-suite leader, and ultimately take back control of your career. To apply, head on over to www.geneviviano.com/apply. Over the course of 12 weeks, you'll network with other female leaders at similar stages, learn how to double your salary, and solidify your career story. Oh, and I almost forgot to mention, the dreaded resume and LinkedIn profile? Yeah, we do that for you. Because of the intimate nature of this program and limited spots, we are very selective about who we invite into the program. To see if you'd be a good fit, again, head on over to www.geneviviano.com/apply to apply to Recruit the Employer today. We can't wait to support you. All right, back to the episode. Some recommendations that I have just for fun around if you do get a signing bonus is what to do with that signing bonus. So some people, what I usually recommend is first you should buy yourself something. you should buy yourself something that you're really excited about. Maybe you wanted to go on a trip, but you allocate a certain percentage of that. I would recommend a smaller percentage towards something that you're really excited about to like treat yourself. I think a lot of people feel guilty when they get a signing bonus that they just stash into their savings account because they just want to put it there. And for sure, do that, but also celebrate yourself a little bit. I had a friend of mine recently where she got a massive bonus check and we were talking about what is she going to spend it on? Like what's something small she's going to buy herself that she's really excited about. And she bought this like beautiful umbrella that she took to the beach. I know that sounds ridiculous, but she was excited about it. It's beautiful. Her picture's amazing. And it was something that she was really excited about that she probably wouldn't buy for herself on a normal basis. But because she got this awesome bonus and it was a way to celebrate the work that she had done, she set aside that money so that she could buy herself something lavish and something exciting. And so I would recommend you do that as well. And then with the rest of that, either pay down debt. I'm a big fan of doing that. Pay down your debt, pay down your school loan, pay whatever, put some into a nest egg for an emergency fund. For those of you that follow the Dave Ramsey method, this is going to sound really familiar. And then the other part could be investing it perhaps in maybe, your Roth. Put it towards like investments for retirement, that kind of thing. Those are different things that you can be thinking about to do with that signing bonus to have it work for you, not just now, but also in the future. So again, buy yourself something super fun. For a small portion of that amount, use the rest to either pay off debt, put some money in an emergency fund, or use it towards retirement. So that is the other thing you can negotiate besides salary. So first thing is professional development. Second thing is relocation or a signing bonus. Third thing is around stock. So this is more relevant to those people that are either very senior level or those people that are in early stage startups. So I actually went through this process when I was going to work for the Muse. And it was actually a very new world for me from that perspective. Now, I worked at the New York Stock Exchange, but I didn't really understand how that whole process worked on the other side. And so looking back now, there's probably some things that I maybe would have done differently when thinking about negotiating. I was new to the field. I was making a huge transition, so I didn't want to rock the boat too much because I did negotiate my salary when I worked there. And I came to find out later, and we were actually, a girlfriend of mine were at a sales panel, a women in sales panel. And one of the women in the group kind of asked a question like, what would you do differently in your career? And the number one thing this woman said was, in every single one of my opportunities, I would negotiate upfront that my stock vests immediately. And she did that for like 3 out of 4 of her places, if I remember correctly. And it benefited her so much in the course of her life and her career. And I was like, I didn't even know you could do that. Now, it is hard. I will say I did some research on this. If you get options to have stock, it is not super common that it's easy to negotiate when the stocks vest, because the typical vesting period for most stocks, when you get invested into a smaller stage company, is 4 years. And so if you stay less than 4 years, let's say you stay 2 years, you only get half of what you were given in your initial offer. So you can negotiate when it vests. I mean, go for it. I would, if I could do it again, I would probably go for vesting earlier. The other thing you can do is the number of shares that you get. So you can also negotiate how many shares you get. Here's what I want to remind you of. I think that there's been a lot of like fun talk about the whole tech scene and getting in early and getting a bunch of stocks and banking, eventually cashing out on that. And that can definitely happen for sure. Just be a little careful and be wary of how much you are accepting in stock, but not necessarily in salary. So what a lot of people will do, and oftentimes it happens in smaller stage companies, is they accept a really, really low salary in the hopes that in the future, their stock will be worth a lot of money. And that's awesome. It just depends on your risk tolerance. I'm kind of a middle risk tolerance. If we were to look at a spectrum, there's like low risk and high risk. I'm somewhere in the middle. And so my recommendation to most people is to make sure that you still are having a livable salary. Please have a livable salary. If you want to sacrifice a little bit for the buy into the company and you believe in the mission, you're asking questions that are showing you that they're intending to IPO or they're intending to sell. If that's kind of the movement that they're working towards, then you can, and you feel really confident about that, I would maybe perhaps leverage that. But we see all the time how how that doesn't always pan out well. I mean, look at WeWork recently. Like that was was going to be a really huge IPO and it didn't really happen because of all the stuff that was going down with their company. So my encouragement to you is just when you're negotiating stocks to not get too overexcited and think you're going to be like the next Mark Zuckerberg and have all this money. Or like just be careful with how much you negotiate that, but don't negotiate your salary. So make sure you try to negotiate your salary first. And then if you can negotiate stocks, I would first try to negotiate when it vests, and then the second, when the stocks vest, and then how many number of shares. So that is number 3. Number 4, the fourth thing that you can negotiate besides salary is paid time off. So this seems like a pretty obvious one. Here's what I would be recommending and when you're thinking about this. So I had a client recently who she negotiated her base salary, she negotiated a signing bonus, and she also negotiated some time off. She added an extra, basically a full work week in there. I love this option because oftentimes many of you I talk to you offline, or maybe you hire me to be your coach, or maybe you're going to be in Recruit the Employer, which I hope you are. A lot of the things that I hear people talk about is the number one thing that they care about isn't necessarily always about money. And some of you it is, and that's totally fine. It's usually 1 or 2 for most people. But the other thing that's most important for individuals is their time, is the balance that you get. And so having more off time, I feel like is equally as valuable as having a certain pay raise. So I would really, really recommend this is something that is super important for you to leverage this. Now, the one thing that I would, again, be careful about whenever you're negotiating, just because I want you to be smart about it, is if you're about to be with a company that says that they have unlimited vacation, just be careful and understand really what that means for that company. A lot of companies nowadays are offering quote unquote unlimited vacation. But what they're finding, some studies have shown, is those people that work at those companies actually take off less time than those people that are given an X amount of days. So I know that for myself, when I worked at the Muse, we had unlimited vacation. It's really why I wanted to work there, because I wanted flexibility in my schedule. And I truly did take time off. I took a lot of time off, and I worked from different places, and I worked very hard when I was in the office, but I did make sure that I took off. So I never felt that. My culture, the culture of the Muse, was awesome. So I know that was very much celebrated, of taking time off. As long as you were hitting your numbers and you were doing good work, people didn't really care as much about the time that you took off, as long as you were performing. So that's another thing, especially now in the wake of COVID. Another thing that you can negotiate is the ability to work from home. So more and more people, I think you're going to see more and more companies that are going to offer this just in general. But if it's something that you realize, hey, I'm home a lot, I love doing this, I don't like commuting into the office, it takes me an hour to get there and an hour to get home, I would rather, get the option to work from home 3 days a week. My mamas, if that's something that's really important to you, I would negotiate that up front and don't apologize for it. I have a lot of moms who will come to me and they'll say, I don't want to come across as being like, I just care about my kids, but I care about my kids. I'm like, you don't need to apologize for that. You don't need to apologize for that. So know that can be part of your negotiation of paid time off or flexibility in your schedule. Perhaps it's certain days that you work from home, certain days that you work in the office. It's different flexibilities that works for you and your family. So just get crystal clear even before you go through the process of what do you want. Ask some thoughtful questions throughout the interview process to understand what the culture of the organization is like, and if that's already baked into the benefits, or if it's something that you can negotiate. If you're in more of a corporate environment, this is something that you would most likely negotiate, versus if you're maybe in a startup or a tech company where this is going to be something that's probably baked into the organization. But I'm seeing more and more companies, especially in the midst of COVID, that are actually leaning into offering more flexibility with time, because they're realizing good employees really want this and really value it, sometimes more so than a certain salary pay bracket. So that's the fourth thing. So just to recap, some other things that you can negotiate besides salary, which you should always negotiate salary first, is professional development, relocation or signing bonus, stocks, and paid time off / flexibility with your work schedule. And the fifth thing, which is kind of all encompassing. And again, if you want to go over to my LinkedIn profile, you can actually see, and you go over to my activity and go to my post, you can actually see that this is one that got a ton of interactions. You may see it floating around. And I love seeing what people actually negotiated. And I would love to see what you actually negotiated too. So if you're on LinkedIn and you negotiated something that we're not talking about today, I would love to hear from you over there, because I just find it super fascinating. I love to meet people who who listen to the podcast and then who also have some thoughts that are maybe a little bit different than what we came up with. But the number 5, so the 5th thing that you can negotiate besides salary is benefits. So that can be anything from health insurance to 401k matching, to severance package guarantees, and parental leaves. So I know that we could have included parental leave into paid time off, but I think that this is really separate. And just thinking through, like, what are some of those benefits? Again, it's all about understanding what is most important to you. Don't negotiate something just because you can. Negotiate it because it matters to you. It's going to make a difference for you and your family. Because sometimes I'll get some people that are just like wanting to negotiate. That the perk that they're getting is not really valuable to them. So one, it's probably not going to work really well. You're not going to really feel like you're valued anymore. And the whole point of negotiations, the conversation that we can come to a mutual agreement on that we're both going to be happy with the arrangement. And so if you're just negotiating just to negotiate, that's not really helpful. But if you're doing something that's going to help your family, that's something I really, really want people to prioritize. So think about for yourself, perhaps especially now, if you have ever gotten laid off before, having a severance package guarantee could be something that you negotiate. So what that looks like is guaranteeing a certain amount that if you do get let go, they would either maybe help you with coaching and or like a certain amount of pay or a certain amount of weeks or a certain amount of depending on what their guarantee is. So that would be just some things that I would definitely think about. The other thing is parental leave, so male and female. So especially for my mamas, this is going to be a big one, is maternity leave paid for? What does it look like once you come back? I think some companies are doing some really cool things around this, and they're also having paternal leave. So maternal and paternal leave, parental leave, whatever you want to call it, whatever is relevant to you. I think the parental leave is a really important one, especially as folks start to get older, and maybe you're thinking about having children and a family. And I find this to be such an interesting topic. And maybe we'll do a whole podcast episode. Let me know if you'd be interested in that around parental leave rather. And we can get some expert to come in, because I'm certainly not the expert on it, to talk about parental leave and how you can be talking to your companies about instilling different programming and different systems into your HR that's going to make you a better place to work. I know that when I was working at the Muse, one of my favorite things that we did whenever I was working there, I don't know if they still do this, but when I was working there, one of the women who was in senior leadership ended up having a baby. And it was so cool because she had 3 months off, and then she was able to bring the baby in, and she actually helped create the policy that we had at the time. Was like, bring your baby to work. And so she brought the baby into work a certain amount of days per week that was predetermined up until either baby was 6 months old or crawling. And it was so fun because the baby had like a babysitting schedule, and I got to hold the baby and hold her while I'm working, and the baby was in meetings, and that baby was so well acclimated. I'm like telling Brent, I'm like, how can we do that for our kids? Because we both work from home. That's not going to be possible probably. But I just think that she just loved being in the office. She was so good around people, and she just like made the energy in the organization actually better. So I thought that was a really, really cool, different thing that our organization did. And now more companies probably are doing very similar things, but I would just check it out, see what the company has to offer. And that could be something also that you negotiate in your package. So just to recap, for those of you that like when I do the little recap, the 5 things you can negotiate besides salary: professional development, relocation or signing bonus, stocks, paid time off for flexibility, and benefits. So everything that it is encompassing else, chalk it up into benefits. Guys, I hope this was helpful today. This is actually a fun episode for me to do just because it came out of a LinkedIn post that we did. And I just thought, man, more people seem to really be resonating with this. I want to share with my listeners over here on the Your Career Story podcast what I've been learning from fellow readers, but also just some things that I have seen people negotiate that's been really fun and out of the box. And it helps it become a win-win situation for you and for the company, especially if they can't budge on salary. So y'all, I hope to see you in Recruit the Employer. Again, this is just a reminder that June 30th is the last day to enroll until the fall. So if you're interested in this, if you have any questions, hop on over to LinkedIn, message me. I'll send you a voice message back about the program. If you have any questions, I would love to help answer that for you. But again, we would love to see you in it, jennaviviano.com/yes. If not, I will see you on next week's episode. Thanks, guys. Hey, y'all, thanks so much for listening to Your Career Story podcast. I would love to get to meet you. And there are a couple of ways that we can connect in between episodes. First and foremost, you know I love my LinkedIn. Second is via Instagram. And third is over on my website. I actually have a special spot just for you full of fun, free resources. So all you have to do is go to www.jennaviviano.com/resources. Super simple for a bunch of freebies that will help you boost your career. Hope to see you next week.